All right, there you heard that. Let's bring in correspondent Enia Krivine, who is actually on the ground right now in Israel. Also with us is Enia Krivine. She is a senior director of Israel programs and the National Security Network at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. To both of you, good morning. Enia, I do want to go to you first. The world, of course, is watching this unfold. It's a very delicate situation. Everyone hoping this deal is fully approved and the hostages are returned. However, looking at the deal, on both sides, they're giving up a lot. What are you hearing on the ground? Do you think it's going to go through?
I do think it's going to go through. First of all, it passed in the Security Cabinet a few hours ago, and now the full government is voting on it. And everything indicates that there will be a majority in the full government for this deal. And if they pass it today, then we should expect that it goes according to plan, which means that the ceasefire will come into effect on Sunday afternoon, and then the first 3 hostages will be released, along with female Palestinian prisoners. I would say that last time, in the first ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in November 2023, there were a lot of drama and a lot of delays when it came to the release of the hostages. So I do think that we should expect things not to go like clockwork, but probably have a few bumps down the road the minute that it goes into effect.
Enia, Hamas has purposely withheld disclosing whether the hostages are even alive or dead, even during this negotiation. And even with the actual release process, they will not reveal the hostages' status until just before the transfer. Why are they allowed to have such a big bargaining chip in this deal, going back 8 months when this ceasefire started, this process?
The short answer is
that's a very good question.
Sorry, Joe.
Hamas's goal.
Go ahead, Enia.
Hamas's goal is to be in the spotlight. They have a media strategy, and every single headline they can get out of this process, they will do that. They also have a policy of psychological warfare. And by not disclosing who's alive or dead is their way to just take additional toll on the Israeli public. So we're very, people in Israel are very much looking forward to seeing any alive hostages come home. There isn't even an exact number of how many people will come home alive in the first phase. And this includes the children. This includes the young family that was ripped from their bed on October 7th, the Beavis family that had, at the time, a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old. And to this day, most Israelis don't know if they will be coming home in this first phase of the deal alive or dead.
With questions like that are very dire, very serious, and yet why isn't Israel pushing for more hostages to be released up front? For instance, Israel released 1,000 prisoners in the first phase. Some of those prisoners we know are known terrorists, and Israel only gets 33 hostages back. Do those numbers add up to you?
So look, it's a tough negotiation, and this is part of the reason why it's taken so long, Fanshin, is because these are dire and excruciating negotiations. This is essentially the deal that's been on the table since May. The broad strokes of this deal were there in May when the Biden administration presented it. But the circumstances on the ground are just dramatically different today. Not only do you have a stronger Israel, not only do you have an Israel that has decisively dealt blows to Hamas, to Hezbollah, and directly to Iran, to Hamas's patron, you also have a weaker Hamas, and then you have the Trump effect. And I cannot overemphasize how important the Trump effect has been on Netanyahu's willingness to take the risk, not only the tactical, strategic risk, but also the domestically, politically difficult risk that he's taken in order to go after this deal, which has a lot of areas of Israeli society finding it deeply unpopular. But again, the backing from the White House, the statements from incoming National Security Advisor, incoming Secretary of Defense, incoming Secretary of State that have all said we stand by Israel has put Netanyahu in a position where he's able to take these risks.
Enia, we know the relationship between Netanyahu and President Trump. What's the relationship with President Isaac Herzog of Israel and President Trump? And do you believe once he's back in office, Trump, that they'll work closely together to keep the ceasefire intact, but maybe there's that swift response that we heard about Trump when he said, hey, all hell's going to break loose if they're not all released by the time I get into office?
So I have no doubt that President Trump has a better relationship with President Herzog. Generally, Herzog is much more liked abroad I can tell you from many, many sources that I've spoken to that Benjamin Netanyahu is very unpopular, not just among his enemies, but also among Israel's allies. They simply don't trust him. And I would say that Trump also had a bit of a difficult time with Netanyahu. But they're turning over a new page now. And I believe that Trump and Netanyahu will really try to keep the ceasefire because it's in both their interests. And if Netanyahu wants to continue with his plan, which is to attack Iran's nuclear program, he needs to keep Trump happy. And actually, he needs to also convince him that the United States should join Israel in such an attack.
Enia Krivine, Jotam Kofino, we appreciate both of you joining us and giving us insight to this not official yet ceasefire deal, but on its way. We'll keep everyone up to date on what happens. Thank you.
Thank you both.